Alright folks, welcome to today's flight. We'll be going from Ronald Reagan, KDCA, to Richmond, KRIC, and that's Washington, D.C. to Richmond, Virginia, the capital of the U.S., to the capital that was the Confederate States of America's capital. And I've got a board here. Let me read off this information for you guys. So we're flying in a JBM aircraft VL 3 livery number 1. We are currently parked at ramp 65 parking at KDCA. We'll be taking off runway 15, flying under GPS rules, and we'll be arriving at KRIC, Richmond, runway 16. It is basically a direct flight, but I have one point of interest along the way. We will be flying over Mount Vernon, and a waypoint I picked is airport MD05, known as FINAGIN Field. And those are on our way south to Richmond. Again, I'm doing a series, capital to capital. We already went from Ottawa to, well, we attempted to go from Ottawa to DC with a massive fail, if you've watched my last live stream. And then, it did not work yesterday for me to do a flight. So, let's hit start. And this screen pops up. I don't know why. But let's get rid of this screen. Again, be patient. It's difficult to do this. Did I close it out? No. Okay. There we go. Get rid of that. Now, I am not going to go through... Well, let's see. Can I go through the checklist? Is there a checklist? Well, we'll go through this checklist as long as I can keep track of the cursor. Okay, let's evaluate.
Fuel tank selector.
And we'll have the co-pilot do it.
Open at L or R. Throttle. Idle. Choke. On. Fully full. Master switch. On. Avionics master switch. On. Fuel pump. On. Brakes. Fully applied. Starter. Engage. Oil pressure. Check. Choke. Off. Brakes. Release.
Okay, that's the checklist. Okay. Let's call ATC here. I'm gonna zoom in. We want clearance. And I'm not sure. Oh, wait, need ground service. And we want pushback.
Washington ground 98178 requesting pushback. Washington ground 98178 for pushback. Target available to answer your request.
Oh, okay.
Washington ground 98178 request taxi for south departure with uniform. 98178 taxi to and hold short of runway 1 using taxiway Kilo Bravo Alpha cross runway 4 Echo. Contact tower on 134.35 when ready. Taxi hold short runway 1 via taxiway Kilo Bravo Alpha cross runway 4 Echo 98178. Washington ground Blue Street 5424 request taxi to the gate. Blue Street 5424 taxi.
Alright, so we have our taxi and departure orders. I am going to switch it to the AI to take care of. This should be about a 40-minute flight. The question is, did I turn AI on, right? Yes, I did. Okay. There we go. Now let's watch this craziness of the AI pilot for the next 40 minutes. I would have went live for today, but instead of using Xbox to record with my flights, I figured this was easier. Maybe it is easier in a way, but it isn't. But I finally was able to take notes to give you guys basic flight information, what we were doing, and a family member suggested a dry erase board. I'm like, I didn't think of that. I wanted to use my phone, but dry erase board works. And I hope I gave you guys the proper information. What I wrote down on the dry erase board, I will drop in my description. If there's enough space for it. I don't know how many characters you're allowed in description, but I think our pilot's going a little fast on this taxiway, isn't he? But yes, so the flight time's 40 minutes. We're already 8 minutes in. So, it should be about an hour.
Washington Tower 98178 ready at runway 1 south departure. 98178 hold short runway 1. Traffic to Japan on final. Hold short runway 1 98178.
It's just me doing it this way. You guys will never see me actually flying unless I do one of those pre-recorded things with the Xbox. But doing it this way, I'm doing basically I'm doing one recording. You're getting live conversation while I'm recording versus me recording afterwards. I don't know what we're waiting for. Okay guys, I'm actually trying to taxi with one hand. Okay, Oh, time to give it back to the AI, because I couldn't do it with one hand. And we're just going to drive through on any obstacles on the ground, as you do in Microsoft Flight Sim. Well, considering how I was doing that with one hand, that was not that bad of a taxi, but still. Right, wheels up. And away we go. Now, you guys saw me do the checklist where we turn the avionics on. Unless there's another button to hit on the screens, we have nothing on our screens. And again, thank goodness I preload flight plans. Because I have no way to... Well, I can... Here we go.
Washington Tower 981783, continue for south departure.
Again, people trying to do this one-handed. I don't know if there's an on button. I'm sorry, guys. None of these look like on buttons to turn the screen on. So, okay. Well, folks, that's routinely what happens with my planes. I have no idea why they do that. So we're scaring people in DC. Actually, I don't know where we're at right now. I think we were flying over Bowling Anacostia Joint Base, which is just to the east across the river from the airport of Ronald Reagan National Airport. But I don't believe that's where we're at. Hard to say, although we are quite low. Or is that that's the mall right there. I didn't know we were going this way, but, you know, okay. Sometimes the AI pilot doesn't follow the plan I put into the computer. Well, then, oh, am I under VOR or something? See, now I'm all confused. I have no idea where we're at. So, I have no idea where we were just flying. But, I mean, I had an idea where we were supposed to be going, but I don't know what the AI just did there. So, I don't know what our paint scheme color is. I don't know if we're blue or green, along with yellow. And of course, there's my airline airline sign, the Mike 2 Lima. What else do we got on the jet here? Looks like a star with a number 3 in it. And this plane is basically a 1-seater. No, it's a 2-seater. No passengers. Hardly any cargo space. Okay, there's Reagan there. So over there, off to at our 9 o'clock, or yeah, our 9 is Bowling and Anacostia Joint Base. Bowling used to be an Air Force base, and Anacostia used to be by itself a naval base, and they've decided to become joint. So that's the base over there, that whole area. And this is the Potomac River we're flying over. I see what we did. So we took off and circled around. That's not what I was expecting, but yeah, we flew over DC. That was the mall we were flying over then. I was trying to avoid airspaces we shouldn't have been in. If you pick VOR for the DC to Richmond, you'll end up flying over, there's a VOR radial at Andrews Air Force Base, and another one at Pax Naval Air Station, further down Virginia. So that's quite interesting that you have radials at 2 military bases if you pick that. Now, there's your low altitude and high altitude IFR. I did not take a look at those just because I don't care to fly that way. And what are we flying over right here? Bellhaven? I think I need to turn this up.
JBM VL 35 miles south of Washington, 1,600 feet. Request clearance to transition Bravo airspace. Heading 1783 Potomac approach. Squawk 4447. Squawk 4447, 981783. Heading 1783 radar contact 5 miles south of Washington, 2,000 feet. Cleared through the Bravo airspace. Cleared through the Bravo airspace, 981783.
You would have thought we would have already been approved since we were taking off from a Bravo airspace. So, there's Mount Vernon. I can't zoom in anymore, but not where you think Mount Vernon is, or was anyway, based on history. It's quite not quite as country and mountainous as you thought it might be, apparently. But that was Mount Vernon back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, was completely different than it is today. And I hope I didn't need IFR flight rules, because looks kind of hazy out there. Okay, so what's the significance of why Mount Vernon is here? I'm trying to remember my own U.S. history here. Mount Vernon. I think Mount Vernon is Thomas Jefferson's home, or Washington. I'm a little foggy on that, and yes, it is foggy outside. That was no pun intended there. Oh God, I feel dumb because I can't remember, but I believe Mount Vernon is Thomas Jefferson. And I believe I should not have picked, should not have been picking GPS rules, but, hey, I didn't know. Didn't know it was gonna look like this. And my finger keeps getting in the screen. Now I set, this plane can go up to 13,000 feet. That is what I set the nav log to do. Whether the AI pilot gets that higher, goes higher, I'm not sure. 13,000 feet is kind of low. But, that's what this plane can do. Is 3,000 above, 10, so, and 10's pretty much the lowest most planes fly. Yeah, quite foggy. Other than that, it's a nice day. Where's the sun? There it is. Now, yeah, so we're going to Richmond. Richmond was the Confederate States of America's capital during our Civil War. Let's see. United States Civil War was 1861 to 1864. There are multiple issues that caused the Civil War. One of them was the North, and not the North, but the anti-slavery. The North wanted to abolish slavery. The South wanted to keep it. That was one of the issues that led to the war. Actually, that's probably the majority issue everybody knows of that led to the war. I can't quote any other reason right now other than that, unfortunately. I do know a lot of history, but now I'm trying to think of it. I can't remember any of it. So, yeah. So we're flying over Virginia. And there's something on the screen I can't seem to get rid of. Whoa, that really zoomed us out. We want one back. There we go. I think I got rid of what was on the screen. I think. Maybe not. I don't think you guys can see it, but I can. You know that square that shows up to try to focus stuff? Yeah, that keeps popping up all over my screen. So hopefully you guys aren't seeing that on the replay. Okay, so we're about 5 miles to FINAGIN and then 65 miles to Richmond. And as much zoomed in as I was with the phone, I had to lean in just to see that. Okay, we want 1X back. There we go. And FINAGIN airfield. I don't know what kind of airfield it was. It was just along my flight path. And since I kind of did a direct flight, we're going basically through the center of Virginia, down to Richmond. Well, Richmond really is not in the center of Virginia. It's kind of in the center-east of Virginia. And then my next capital-to-capital video, I could go through nations that were within what we now know as the U.S., but that would be a bunch of Native American nations, and not to discount them, but they weren't really big enough to have capital cities. At least, I don't think so. Well, the Powhatans might have had one. But, the next capital I know of, and it's now a state, but at once it was its own country, and that's the Republic of Texas. The capital of the state of Texas today is Austin. I don't believe that was the capital, or I'm not sure if Austin was the capital of the Republic of Texas. But that is the next, that's my next idea for going from Richmond to somewhere in Texas. I might make stops along the way. We might do, as we go to the Republic of Texas, we might stop in the capitals for each state. So, I don't know which direction I want to go. Heading towards Texas, we could stop in either Raleigh or Nashville. Raleigh, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee. Or I could go from Raleigh, North Carolina to Columbia, South Carolina, and then cross over from Atlantic to Atlanta, Mobile, can't think of Mississippi right now, but Baton Rouge for Louisiana, and then fly into Texas. What is Mississippi's capital? Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. Anyway, I could do jump from capital to capital. Like I said, if I go from Richmond to Raleigh and go down and across, that's that way. But I think it's shorter if I go Richmond to Nashville. Now I remember it. Maybe it's Nashville to Jackson, Mississippi, and then into Texas. That might be the shorter route. Of course, because if I just do GPS direct and go Richmond to whatever the capital city in Texas is, it will give me that, and then I have to pick, okay, which direction do I want to go? Because it's going to cut southwest, which would be Nashville direction.
Frequency change through 981783. Potomac approach 98178 is Tech JBM Aviation VL 33 miles south of Mike Delta 057,600 feet. Request flight follow. 98178 Potomac approach. 15037.
I did think of flying from each state capital to each state capital, but I figured let's do country to country. That would have been less stops, although I'm throwing in things that used to exist, like Richmond to DC to Richmond, but I was trying to break it up into smaller chunks of flights, and going DC to Mexico City was going to be a long one, so I figured, but Richmond to somewhere in Texas might be a long flight, depending on what aircraft gets chosen, and I currently have in my library of aircraft 113 aircraft, and I asked my phone to give me a random number from 1 to 133. Our first plane was a number 56 for me, which was my F-16, and this flight was number 59, and this was the plane that was at number 59 slot on my library. So, now I might get a random, it might give me a random that I just can't fly, or the AI can't fly. We'll put it that way. I'm not going to use any aircraft that I know the AI can't fly at all, and the the AI cannot do helicopters. The AI can't do the Halo airplane. The Halo can't do the orthocopter. They can't fly the Wright brother plane. Granted, a lot of people probably can't fly that one. And can't fly. There's something else it can't fly. Anyway, that, and if I land on the Hughes Hercules and I can't find a location near the Capitol that I'm taking off from, or landing, we ain't using it because it can only take off and land on water. Unlike the CL415, it can take off and land on land and can take off and land from water to water. So how far are we away from Richmond are we right now? We have Powhatan, Virginia, about 8 miles away, and Richmond, 53. Maybe I should look up Native American capital cities in North America. That might be a little interesting because I'll have to look up some history. Maybe I should take some notes about it and maybe give you guys a little bit of an education. There is another capital I technically could go to in Richmond. I don't know if you could count it as a capital. I could fly from Richmond to Jamestown, but that would be like a less than a 30-minute flight. That would be more like a 10-minute flight to go to Jamestown. And then, of course, there's also Williamsburg. You know, if I really wanted to throw history into it, instead of going from Ottawa to DC, I could have went Ottawa to Philadelphia. But, I didn't really think about it at the time. Because Philadelphia used to be a capital, although I could have went Ottawa to New York City, because, although I don't know where I would have landed there, because there's no airport in New York City, and all the other airports around are in the LaGuardia's in Queens, or I don't know. Okay, so LaGuardia and JFK, one's in Queens and one's in Brooklyn or Bronx. I'm not that illiterate on my geography. I just can't remember which one's which. So I couldn't really have gone to New York. But, so, U.S. capitals, before we settled on D.C., were, again, before the U.S. was pretty much a country, or maybe they were all, but Philadelphia was, I think, the first nation's capital when we all came together as a nation. All the colonies decided to work together, and then you had New York, and then D.C. And, there's I think there was 2 capitals for when the Confederate States of America were around. I'm not sure. I just know Richmond was its capital. So, there's certain DLCs I don't have. Like, I don't have all the helipad landing sites. I didn't buy that DLC. I don't have oil rigs and all that. But the Pentagon does have a helipad on it. I've landed on it. I just wish I could take off from it. So, you can take off and land at the White House, but they didn't give you the Pentagon. And if you have a certain the proper helicopter, you might not have the livery, but if you have a Black Hawk or a Swarovski, whatever they were, you can fly from where the Marines leave and take off in their formation, the Marine One. You can actually fly from the Marine base to the White House and land on the lawn. End game. And then I took just the Bell helicopter from the White House over to the Pentagon. You can land on the Pentagon's helipad, but you can't spawn there. The only way to technically take off from the Pentagon is to spawn in at the Pentagon and then land and take off again. But you'd have to know exactly where you're going. I can't fly helicopters to save my rear end. If you go back and watch my Lower Manhattan tour video I did, I used the Bell, and watching me land was probably hilarious. I don't know if it has to do with my sensitivities on my controller, or if I just can't figure it out. But I think in 24 they're changing how the physics of helicopters work for them to be a little bit easier to control. Because anytime I let go of the stick, I just started spinning out of control, and then I couldn't get it back into control, and you crash. Alright, so I'm glad the scenery popped back in correctly today. Unlike the other day with our F-16 flight from Ottawa that I never got to finish just because the Xbox crashed like 30 miles out to Ronald Reagan Airport, and I did not want to redo that flight. I had no idea what landmarker I would have used to resume flight in midair. So, we never finished that flight. We just assume that the pilot and plane made it home safely. I think I've been having more to talk about doing it this way than I would if I was live, because I don't know, it's just me. I pay attention to the like count. I try to pay attention to how many people are watching, and that's a distraction. Whereas here, it's just me recording and me talking about stuff. I'm not trying to say thank you. I'm not pleading to anybody, please stick around and watch, like I did on my lives, which probably makes me sound terrible. Okay, we got an aircraft in the air, and we're about 40, we got about 40 miles to, well, wait, what should we believe there? The 3886 or 3877? Which one's moving, actually? Which one's counting down? I'm gonna say we gotta get a landing pattern anyway. Oh! Yeah, we gotta get a landing pattern anyway, so... And there's no sense in me trying to pull up ATC. I can't do it with the one hand and figure that out. So, hopefully the AI will do what they're supposed to. Okay, this is 1x, and I know the whole screen doesn't fit in. That's like 8/10. That's not even 1. The whole thing is in the screen there, but I don't know how well you guys can see anything. But, try not to show off personal stuff that I have sitting on my desk, but... I like it better at 1, myself. It's not like you guys need to really see every piece of information on the HUD. Let's see, what else can I say about Richmond? Richmond has a vocational rehab center for the blind. I've been there myself a few times when I lived in Virginia. I pretty much grew up in Virginia, in Southeast Virginia. 91 to 2005. Before my family decided to move out to East Tennessee. And then before 91, I was an Air Force brat. So I had multiple places I lived. The only reason I know about Bowling, Anacostia is because, well, my dad was stationed at Bowling Air Force Base. I don't remember when, let's see. From like 83 to 86? Something like that. No, not 8, maybe 84 to 86. I don't know how long we were there. He used to work at the Pentagon. Yeah, Bowling Air Force Base at one time. Okay, they weren't talking. Bowling Air Force Base did have its own flight line. It's no longer there. You can't find it in game unless you were someone stationed there. Like, I asked my dad, hey, where's the flight line? Where's the runway? And he's like, he looked all over the in-game world map, and he's like, there it is, right there. He found it. It's one of the football fields and on the base now. And then now there's Joint Base Andrews. I don't know what Joint Base Andrews is joint with. I always knew Andrews Air Force Base as its own entity for the longest time. I'm trying to think of other history stuff about Richmond, or anything else I know about Richmond. There is the Confederate States Capitol building, apparently is still up. It's a tour in Richmond. You can go check out. I mean, if you're in love with history, you need to learn the history of the state of Virginia, because without the state of Virginia, I don't think there's a U.S. There's no United States without the state of Virginia. I mean, you got Jamestown. It's just Jamestown, birthplace of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe. There's a lot of history that takes place just for Virginia. Virginia is one of the few states that has, or had, let me put had, when we had 5 branches of the military. Okay, so there, let me rephrase this. Virginia is probably one of the few states that had Navy base, an Army base, an Air Force base, Marine base, and Coast Guard bases. Or at least one Coast Guard base. I don't know if there's a Space Force base, and actually, I know there isn't. I've looked this up. There is no Space Force base in Virginia. However, you do have a lot of stuff in Virginia. A lot of military bases in Virginia. In fact, Norfolk Naval Base is basically the home port to a lot of the fleet that are based Atlantic based. For instance, the Enterprise, USS Enterprise, CVN, oh, I can't remember its number. Anyway, its home port was Norfolk. And now it sits in the river, Hudson River in Manhattan as a tour. Let's see, what else? What else can I say? At least I'm trying to come up with things to say, unlike the other day. I was running out of things to say. That one felt like there was more pressure on me because I was live and people were dropping in and out. A lot of people watch my replays, so I think me just doing videos this way without going live might be better. It's less stress on me, and I know people watch my videos. It's just nobody wants to watch them when I go live. We got a little bit of a cloud bank over there, don't we? And we have 20 to 24, or 20 to 20 miles. What we got down here? I'm trying to zoom in, and then it's, of course, Woods Farm. Oh, history in Virginia. So we also have Woodrow Wilson Rehab Center, which is in the west side of North Virginia, the northwest of Virginia. It's in a town called Fishersville near Stanton, and Stanton has the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind. Not so deaf/blind. Not that they're deaf and blind, although there is a school like that, I think, in Richmond called the Helen Keller School. And there's a lot of history with the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind in Virginia, because part of it, I think, during the Civil War was used. Before it was, I don't know if it was a school and then it was used as a hospital and then back to a school. I don't know the actual history. I can pull up I found the history of the school, but it didn't go into detail about its history as a hospital for, I don't know if it was for the Confederate or the Union side. You would think it would have been for the Confederate. But, there's, for any wrestling fan, you know, there's that whole episode where Raw was in Norfolk, Virginia, and WCW was in Hampton, or Newport News, at the Coliseum over there, and they did that DX Invades thing. Oh wait, no, it was the other way around. WCW was at the Scope Center in Virginia, the Scope Arena, and WWE was in Newport News, or Hampton. I get it confused. Anyway, that was a cool episode. Now, I said I was in junior ROTC in high school. I was junior Air Force ROTC. We went up to Langley Air Force Base in Newport News. I got to sit in the cockpit of an F-16. I was one of the few people that actually knew what to do because I was interested in aviation. A lot of the kids' parents were Navy, and most of them were not really into aviation, and they had no idea about, they weren't aviation brats either. So, that happened, and I managed to make it to the rank of cadet captain. But, I'm running out of stuff to think about to say. I mean, I did pretty good today coming up with stuff. I know we're coming up soon, right? 12 miles. Let's attempt to do something one-handed here.
Entry. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Matty 81783, Potomac approach. Cleared to the Charlie airspace.
Cleared through Charlie airspace, Matty 81783.
Okay, now we can pick. Is it here? Yeah, KRIC.
Richmond Tower Matty 81783 is 11 miles north, 3,500 feet with Sierra to land.
Matty 81783, Richmond Tower. Altimeter 30.16 wind, column 5 straight, in runway 16.
Fly straight in runway 16 Matty 81783.
It just happened, circumstance, that they did the same thing automatically that I was getting ready to actually do. Alright, so we got our landing path. For runway 16, and yeah, I should have did IFR. with low altitude as what I wanted, because it is quite hazy. But we're on a supposedly a straight in. I don't know what the AI is gonna do though. I don't know if he's gonna go to try to meet up with that pattern entry, or if he's just gonna keep flying straight and turn left down this glide slope path that we have here. Alright. Well, that was just interesting. I was getting ready to do that, as you guys saw. I'm trying to handle stuff one-handed. I was gonna make my airport call. I think I did the Richmond thing, and then it just did the rest for me. Because, I didn't even get to pick the runway or anything. So it just might have been coincidence. Let's see, the state of Virginia has no major league sports teams. Well, wait. Yeah, no major league sports teams. We have, I take that back, we might have a hockey team that's NHL, but we have the Admirals, that's the hockey team. There's, what else do I have? AAA baseball teams. We've got the Senators in Northern Virginia. We have the Richmond Flying Squirrels. And we have the Norfolk Tides. Bunch of college teams. So you got, for football, you got Notre Dame, you've got UVA, University of Virginia, you have Virginia Tech, you have Liberty University. I don't know, but I know there's Lee University. I don't know if they have a if they have a football team that plays in any of the divisions. Of course, they probably all have baseball teams as well. There's also a school for the deaf and blind in Newport News. For some reason, when I went to that school, I went all the way up to Stanton versus Newport News, which was closer. I don't know why. There might have been a difference why, like maybe one is specified more towards a certain type of student. I don't know, like maybe Stanton took the students that were more capable of learning and needed less supervision. Although when I went to Stanton, it was basically a boarding school. You stayed there all week, went home for the weekend. Fridays was a half day of school every week, but I didn't stay there long. I didn't like it. So I only stayed there for like 2 to 3 months, the first year of high school. I think I was only there from September to October. Like, yeah, September to October, early November, before I went back to the local high school where we lived. We're about to land, and of course I'll stick with this video till we taxi and shut down. The AI will taxi and shut down, usually on their own. So this is the first time you guys have actually seen a whole flight. Granted, it's not me starting it up, although I guess you could say I started up the flight. I did the checklist. the one checklist for this plane, which I don't think is accurate enough because, well, again, the screens aren't on. Oop, wrong button. You don't know what you're doing when you don't have your screens on. What are we doing, AI? Is he turning? Are we turning? Okay, yeah, we're turning. Like, what are we doing? Okay. There is a view I like while landing that I'm not going to be able to get with one hand. And we're going to see how bad the AI lands. Because obviously the pilot can't figure out that we're going too fast. And it looks as that the airport's right below us. What are we doing? Oh, that's not an airport. Although it looks like one right there. Because, I mean, there's the airport. Okay, there we go. 1X again. So we just hit 1 hour and 3 minutes. So this was supposed to be a 41-minute flight on top of the taxiing and all that. So, I think we're doing pretty good. I am not ever going to try and hold this phone for 2.5 hours again. That was a killer the other day. I'm going to stick to an hour, hour and a half. And let's get ready to zoom in on and see what kind of landing rating the computer gets itself. Because we're definitely not coming over the center. Although maybe we'll land center by the time we get to the ground. Let's go back into the cockpit here and see. Maybe not. Here we go. Belly cam like. Man, that was a rough landing. What do we get? A negative 180, 5 stars. Wow. Wow, the computer made a liar out of me today. Wow. Holy crap, that's the first time I've seen the computer do that. Holy shit, I can't believe the computer finally got a 5-star landing. That's amazing. Now I hope people stick around and watch this all the way through just to see that. Maybe I need to put that in the title. Hey, we got a 5-star landing. Got it. Hey, we had a very good landing. Now let's just hope we taxi and shut down without any incidences. Because that was perfect. Perfect landing. It doesn't sound like we're slowing down though, does it? Yeah, I know, you want me to exit. Well, the AI is apparently going to taxi all the way to the end of the runway and then turn. Or maybe they weren't. There we go. Now they're powering down. And using some brake. But yeah, we pretty much taxied all the way to the end of the runway. Now let's just hope we don't have to taxi all the way around the airport. Because I don't know what we're getting. That's not stopping. That's still stopping in the runway there, AI. I hate that this box stays up so long. Oh, I think I need to take control. Okay. AI's playing again.
Taxiing to general aviation parking by a taxiway Matty 8178.
So, when you pick departures from airports and you pick somewhere to a spot to take off from, it's hard to know exactly where you should be taking off from, especially if you're trying to fly a real-life flight for a certain airline. Or, like in my case, I was a GA, General Aviation, and I had no idea where to actually start up from. So I just picked what looked like a parking spot not near any gates. Is this where we're stopping? Really? Looks like he's still waving his hands out there for us. Well, there you go, folks. We made it to Richmond. At least this time our flight made it all the way there. I hope you've made it this far. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you in the next flight. Fly you later.